Lakers for Life extended hitter All-Star weekend has come to a close. It's behind us, and now we're gearing up for the final 30 games of the season. The Lakers sit at 32-20, and we're ready to make a push. We're ready to make a push. Luka's here. He's got a couple games under his belt to shake off the rust, and we gonna get it cracking now. So what are we looking for? What are we looking for in these final 30 games of the season to get ready for hopefully the playoffs? And we're in a good position to do that, even move up in the standings. But, I think from just the 2 games, still very, very small sample size. But what do we want to look out for? And I think the first thing that we really need to look out for is how Luka becomes an aggressor. There's going to be an adjustment period, right, between himself, the team, himself and Braun, himself and Reeves. But I think it's pretty pivotal that he becomes the aggressor. Yeah, he was rusty in the first 2 games, hasn't played since Christmas, but you can see that he was passive. He wasn't the typical Luka we've seen in previous years in Dallas, right? But he's going to be an important piece to the engine. And what that's going to do with him as the aggressor is move LeBron off ball for extended stretches of the game. And that's going to be a shift. We've seen LeBron play off ball. He's got all of the intangibles, the skill, the IQ to play off ball. This is a transition that I think is going to make life easier for him on the offensive end. He's been asking for a playmaker for years, someone that can help enable him, where he doesn't have to pick up the entire slack. And I think we're going to see a more comfortable Luka. There is going to be an adjustment period, but getting him in the P&R, having him really call the play action, dictate and orchestrate the offense. And for those that doubt that LeBron can play off ball, I think we're going to see a much more efficient side to him. And I think it's going to be the building blocks to having a very, very explosive offense. I think the biggest thing that, people are talking about is, they'll figure it out, LeBron and Luka. How do you bring in Austin Reeves as the third player into that mix? Does Austin kind of get buried in the shadows of those two? Do we lose the effectiveness of Austin? Does he need to move to the bench? I personally don't think Austin Reeves or thoughts of Austin Reeves moving to the bench should happen right now. I think he's a guy that's going to be a big beneficiary of having so much gravity around Luka and LeBron. I mean, you're talking about a guy that was, giving it to teams' best defender, second best defender on a nightly basis. And now he's going to get, their third best defender? How are teams going to throw or position their defenses around those 3? And we know Austin Reeves can play off ball. We know now that he can be an elite playmaker. And we've seen that with the departure of D'Lo and us really giving the keys to him. Now we're giving the keys to Luka, and his role is going to shift again. It's going to adjust, but I think what we're building here is, to my second point, I think what we're building here is a competitive advantage. We're building a competitive advantage, and that's needed when you look at other teams in the West and what they have. The Utah game, the second Utah game, even though we had no DFS and Vincent, it exposed something that we already know about this roster, and that's the lack of bigs and size. Between Lauri Markkanen, Kessler, and Collins, they were getting lobs all day. We didn't have a lot of resistance to the bigs. And this is something that, we got to keep an eye out on for the remainder of the season. Granted, again, Vincent and DFS were not playing. They played very pivotal roles in our perimeter defense. And if you don't have perimeter defense, you're going to get exposed down low too. Hayes was also only there for 7 minutes. And, we got to see the Alex Len debut, which we'll get into. But knowing that we have glaring holes at the big spot, Hayes is holding it down. What type of competitive advantage are we trying to form? And those 3, Luka, Austin Reeves, and LeBron James, is a look that teams have not seen. We have not seen that elite playmaking, players that have an offensive prowess to them, 3 of them all in one lineup. And while we don't have the bigs, those 3 allow us to play 5 out. and they're going to have space to maneuver. They need to find their spots. They need to know how each other play off a ball, but that'll come with the adjustment period. And when you got a shooter like Reeves who can still play make off the skip, you have LeBron who, is a force, in the post, off cuts, can still shoot the ball. And then you got Luka really orchestrating this whole thing. It's going to be dangerous. It's something that, how do you defend that? Even if you have bigs. And if that trio can really get clicking, we might have to make teams, really maneuver to what we're doing, right? On the offensive end. Yes, there are holes on the defensive side of the ball, which we're hoping we can shore up. And that gets me to our small but big lineups. I mean, you got Rui, you got DFS, you got Vando. And those are three key pieces to how we move forward, knowing that we don't have centers with big defensive prowess on this roster. And I think DFS plays a huge role in what we're going to do moving forward. I think if there's any adjustments to the starting lineup, it's going to be DFS coming in, providing balance, providing that defense. And, he can still shoot the ball from the perimeter. Rui has been great this season. And while he has his, deficiencies, he has put together some strong play. He's a very solid 43% shooter from the 3-point line. He's averaging around 5 rebounds a game. Is he the player that we need to be more of a spark off the bench and to stagger within the game? And maybe even close some games for us, when we need that perimeter scoring. But to me, that's where the adjustment's going to be in the starting lineup. But to get back to the point, small big ball. You're talking Vando, DFS, Rui, all 6'8", 6'7", LeBron 6'8", 6'9", Luka 6'7" himself. That's a huge lineup. And it's scrappy. We still have a good POA defender in Vando. Can JJ Redick find a way to play him off ball, not just park him in the corner, make him active to where he's getting in the offensive glass, he's slashing. We know he's not a great finisher, but if we can make him at least a piece that is usable in an offense and not just parked in the corner, you have the makings of a very scrappy lineup there. And I know Austin Reeves isn't included in that, but it's a lineup that we can play over the course of a game. But that small, big ball is going to be our identity moving forward. I mean, you don't want to play Len. We saw the kind of massacre it was in that second game against Utah in his debut in extended minutes. I'm going to give it a few games, but I just don't think that's it. I don't think that's it. And we may have to lean on that small, big ball more than using a second center after Hayes. Maybe Koloko gets on the roster in a converted two-way if we open up a spot, but Alex Len is not the solution. He's not even a stopgap, to be honest. I think we have to pivot in another direction and really focus in on developing Hayes, doubling down on him, making sure that he builds a chemistry with this new dynamic with Luka, LeBron, and Reeves. We've seen some good games from him. He's become playable. But that's the extent to which we have. And we know bigs are going to outbig us. But again, how do we build that competitive advantage? And if we get those three guards and LeBron, 2 guards and LeBron, Luka, Reeves, and LeBron James clicking, that opens up something unique, a competitive advantage that makes teams have to shift up what they want to do against us. And if you can't be big, with the Jokic out there, Houston's big, Chet and Hartenstein over in OKC, you got to do something that teams are going to have to adjust for. So that's, I think, the biggest thing that we want to see developing is Luka becoming the aggressor and us really forming an identity with those 3 players, Reeves, LeBron, and Luka, but also really going and doubling down on that small, big lineups, because that's all we really have on this roster when you look at us 8 deep, right? Dalton We don't know what he's going to do or what he's going to be like. Is he going to get up to an average level of defensive play? We don't know. Coloco's there. I'd say the one player that I have my eye on is Goodwin. He's shown that he can defend. He can rebound at a high rate. He's, a player that has a semblance of Max Christie, but is not Max Christie. He might be someone you think about converting from a two-way to a roster spot to give you that kind of backup position. How he is in the playoffs, we don't know, but at least for the remainder of the season, he might be someone that you want to really bring just a little bit more cohesion to that bench group. And I think that's the biggest thing. We have to form that identity. It's been a season of adjustments. We've gone through quite a bit of phases, but this is the final push now. And we have what we have. I don't think we're going to see anything drop that's surprising on the buyout market that's going to help us significantly. So we need to work with what we have. And I think building that competitive advantage of, having an offensive prowess that can still scrap on defense is going to be our calling card, at least for this year. We have a difficult schedule coming up. And I think this is really going to test us. We're going to have to adapt quickly, and we're going to be tested. Looking at the list right now, at the end of February, we got Denver 3 times, mind you, on 2 back-to-backs, with Milwaukee being the other game on both back-to-backs. I don't know how the NBA put that together, but we got the Bucks twice, we got Denver 3 times, we got Dallas, Minnesota, the Clippers twice, Boston, the Knicks. That stretch, which I call the gauntlet, is going to really show us what we could potentially be, or it's going to just expose our deficiencies further, and it's going to be something we have to think about moving into the offseason next year. But I do think we have a very unique roster. It's very interesting. It's not your traditional roster, but if it can gel correctly, and we do have the IQ for it to gel correctly between LeBron, Luka, and Reeves, I think this could be something very, very special. We have role players that are having good years that help bring the cohesion. Guys like Vincent, who we didn't really get to talk about, but he's been playing really, really well. We hope continues to get better and shows, more signs of his Miami days. DFS, Vando, and Rui are going to be very, very important to us. How JJ staggers these lineups and builds this new rotation, I think, is going to be the key. We have what we need from an identity standpoint, and we'll see how effective it's going to be, over the remainder of this season. Let's look out for these things. I hope you guys enjoyed ASB weekend, and we'll get back to it real, real soon. Like it or hate it, drop a comment and debate it.